In Western Kurdistan, Rojava, Afrin Canton also declared democratic autonomous administration following the declarations of autonomy by Cizre and Kobane Canton's administrations. The Legislative Parliament of Afrin Canton met this morning with the presidency of Evin Rashid. Following the vote of confidence, Afrin Canton's Democratic Autonomous Administration's Executive Council began its first legislative session with its one president, two vice presidents and 22 ministers. Hewi Ibrahim Mustafa was elected as Executive Council's first woman president, and Remzi Shahmuz and Abdil Hamid Mustafa were elected as vice presidents. First Democratic Autonomous Administration in Western Kurdistan was declared at 21st of January at Cizre and followed by the declaration of autonomy of Kobane Canton at 27th of January. Cizre and Kobane Canton's administrative bodies also consist of one president and 22 ministers. Parliamentary elections in Cizre, Kobane and Afrin Canton will be held within 4 months. Following the declaration of democratic autonomy in Cizre, Kobane and Afrin cantons, people celebrated the declarations in the streets of western and northern Kurdistan. The key issue of a transitional government to replace President Bashar Assad blocked any progress in Syrian peace talks. The structure, executive power and the time frame of the transitional government and the future of Assad continues to be the point of conflict between the two sides. The delivery of aid to the beleaguered city of Homs also remains a point of dispute. PYD leader Salih Muslim said that the militants of Al-Qaeda are trained on Bolu Mountains in Turkey. The leader of PYD said that Turkey has sent arms to Syria, but the arms were received by Salafis rather than Turkmens who actually act together with PYD. Alleging that Al-Qaeda militants have been trained in Bolu and Sarıkamış, Muslim said even the meals of militants who passed to Syria from Turkey were sent from Ceylanpınar. Muslim also alleged that the weapons of Qatar were passed to Syria over Turkey. Democratic Unity Party (PYD), which represents the large majority of Syrian Kurds, was not invited to Geneva II conference. Salih Muslim is, however, in Geneva for separate talks, even though he is not officially participating in the conference. Cansu Çamlıbel from the Turkish newspaper Hürriyet interviewed with Muslim in Geneva over the autonomy of Kurds in Rojava. Below is the translation of some parts of the interview. We can talk about two different sorts of weapons. Turkey has been the gateway of weapons to Syria. The weapons sent by Qatar are passed to Syria over Turkey. And there are also the weapons sent by Turkey itself. Turkmens are part of YPG together with us. They have not received weapons. They claim that they were cheated. We come closer with the Turkmens in the recent times. Indeed, we have never been enemies. I guess there are around 100,000 Turkmens in Syria. Kurds comprise 15% of the overall population in Syria, which makes approximately 3.5 million. Turkey doesn't send its own soldiers but allows groups to pass to Syria from its borders, opens their ways and provides their weapons. Qatar says, we sent $3 billion to Syria. What was Turkey's profit from this? How much did it profit from the sale of weapons? It is well known that Turkey was selling weapons to both sides during Iran-Iraq war. We started to get prepared for the democratic autonomy in July 2013. We launched 2 months ago a temporary legislative assembly comprised of 82 persons. Half of these are Kurdish. 35 organizations were represented in the assembly. The decision was to have 3 cantons, each with its own temporary assembly. Also, three committees were set to prepare the social contract, the election law and the statute. The social contract has been presented to the Assembly, adopted and now is being implemented. We will have the elections within 4 months. Democratic autonomy is the self-management of people against global colonization. We want to build democratic Middle East. This is in fact the project announced by Mr. Öcalan. Turkish Prime Minister Tayyip Erdoğan visited Iran on Wednesday to bolster trade and energy ties. Iran has been a strong strategic ally of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad since the start of the uprising against him. Analysts said the main focus of Erdoğan's visit was expanding economic cooperation, financing any political disputes for now. Erdoğan signed 3 trade deals on Wednesday before leaving Tehran to fly home, Iranian state television said. No details were released about the 3 trade pacts or Erdoğan's meetings with Khomeini and Rouhani, who plans to visit Turkey within the next few months, according to Iranian and Turkish media. U.S. Treasury Undersecretary David Cohen, who visited Turkey just before Erdoğan's Iran trip, warned the Turkish government against any rapid improvement of trade and economic links with Iran. Iran was Turkey's 3rd largest export market in 2012. Turkey exports more than 20,000 products to Iran, among them gold and silver. The gold trade boomed in 2012 when Ankara was paying for Iranian natural gas and oil imports with the Turkish lira, and Tehran was using those deposits held in Turkey's state-run Halkbank, which was in center of bribery and corruption scandals, to buy gold. BDP co-chair Selahattin Demirtaş at the BDP Peace and Democracy Party group meeting told about the bribery and corruption operation on 17th of December 2013. Demirtaş said that it was not possible to remedy the current situation in Turkey and to achieve peace and democracy without exposing the present situation and giving an end to the denial of bribery and corruption. Demirtaş also reminded of the former statements of AKP officials that praised the Gülen movement and revealed the close relations between the government and the Gülen organization, citing Erdoğan's call to Fethullah Gülen that we want to see those away from home among us. This longing for home must end now. Demirtaş said the society of Turkey placed their hopes in the BDP and the HDP, People's Democratic Party, and vowed to perform works in line with the awareness of the responsibility of theirs. On the other side, a recent survey have implicated people close to the government shows that the public largely supports the probe that came to public attention on 17th of December of last year. According to Metropole Strategic and Social Research Center, 60.5% of those surveyed said the prosecutors were right to proceed with the corruption investigations despite the government's persistent efforts to portray the probes as a foreign conspiracy executed in collaboration with domestic partners and aiming to topple the government. On 17th of December of last year, Istanbul and Ankara police staged down raids to detain over 50 people as part of a corruption investigation. Among the detainees were officials, well-known business people, and the sons of 3 ministers. Allegations emerged that several ministers had also been involved in bribery. We share a part of an article of Michael Rubin. When I first visited Iraqi Kurdistan in 2000, life for Iraqi Kurds was difficult. Saddam Hussein may have been gone, at least from Dahuk, Erbil and Soleimani, but no one knew when and if his forces would be back. The Iraqi Kurdish economy suffered both from that uncertainty and under a double embargo. The United Nations sanctioned Iraq and the Baghdad government blockaded Kurdistan. Kurds withstood the blockade, Saddam fell, and today Iraqi Kurdistan thrives, in part because of the stoic resolve of the Kurdish people, and in part because of the leadership of both the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan and the Kurdistan Democratic Party. How unfortunate it is, then, that the same politicians who once complained about the blockade of Iraqi Kurdistan now engage in one of their own. The Syrian revolution has enabled Kurdish dreams that just a short time ago might seem foolish. Rojava remains stoic, even as its isolation is greater than that ever faced by Masoud Barzani and Jalal Talabani. The Turkish government, fearing another successful Kurdish entity alongside its border, has imposed a blockade, and the civil war inside Syria cuts off recently through that country. The KRG completes the blockade. KRG has refused for more than 4 months to allow several tons of donated medicines warehoused at the border to cross into Rojava. The reason for the KRG position is popularity of Öcalan in Rojava. He lived in Syria until 1999 and so many locals knew him. The second reason is both diplomatic and financial. Barzani's business with Turkey depends on pleasing Ankara. Money and political competition may color Barzani's calculations, but they should not be reason to cause innocent Kurds to suffer and die for lack of medicine. If Barzani is as much of a defender of Kurdish rights as he claims, he should not sacrifice Syrian Kurdistan for his own ambition. Famous Kurdish Iranian film director Bahman Gobari has pleaded with Iraqi Prime Minister Nuri Maliki to leave Kurds alone. In this letter to Maliki, Gobari called on the Iraqi PM to solve issues with Iraqi Kurds peacefully and through dialogue and asked him not to threaten Kurds. Gobari also told the Iraqi PM that his letter was written in Persian because Maliki, as a close friend of the Iranian authorities, should have very good Persian. I don't like politics and have always tried to stay away from politicians, but I noticed recently that you have spoken to Kurds using threatening language, Gobari wrote. Gobari went on to point out to Maliki that during the 80s, when then Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein was gassing the Kurds, you, Maliki, were in Iran and didn't say anything. Instead of stirring up sectarian conflicts and hatred, build a stable and federal country and try to make a name for yourself in history. However, I'm afraid if you continue on your current path, you may make a bad name for yourself in the history books, Gobari noted. Gobari is a well-known Kurdish Iranian film director who has received several international awards for his films, A Time for Drunken Horses, Marooned in Iraq, Half Moon, and Rhino Season.